who are you?
My name is Tobias.
Tobias, welcome to Neptune Records.
Thank you so much.
Tobias, first off, quote, call me Little Sun.
Shine?
Little Sunshine.
Yes.
And I have a gift for you, an Aleister Crowley record.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
And what can you tell me about Mr. Sunshine, Aleister Crowley and Ghost?
In short, because you brought up the connection, of course, Call Me Little Sunshine is a quote from Aleister Crowley.
And that's a gift for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Original wax recordings. Have you heard some of these? Do you have this record?
I do not have this record.
And the Impera cover was kind of influenced by him, right?
It was, yes. Absolutely.
In what way?
There's this pretty iconic picture of him when he's sitting in the same sort of position with the fists like that. You know, he's from the old world, so there wasn't that many pictures of him, and that is one of the few. And it's pretty iconic, especially within the elusive world of occultism.
Well, that's a gift for you. Some original wax recordings for Tobias. What about traditional Swedish stuff? Like, I wanted to ask you about this right here. If you could open this, I want to show you this.
Is this a dollar horse?
Yeah, what exactly is going on? You can tell.
I can tell by this is going to be a red horse now coming out. Or it's a blue. Oh, it's a blue one. Okay. All right. But this is a classic dollar horse. The most common one would be a red.
Quite heavy.
They don't have to be this big. This is the bigger version of it. I think that in most Swedish homes, especially the parent generation, as in my parent generation and older, maybe if you're 10 and you might have 30-year-old parents, they might not have one of these. But definitely, it was a traditional thing to have in a home somewhere. But it might have been like a small one.
And it's good luck, kind of?
I guess so.
Like, is there one on the tour bus?
I don't have one on the tour bus yet.
That actually is my friend's.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you have one at home now, right?
I do.
For the kids, right? Or the kids had one.
For the kid in me, maybe.
Boom. The Dala?
Dalahäst. Della horse.
Dala horse. Did you design the Ghost logo near a Priso?
Priso. I wonder if that was
a supermarket.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if that existed back then. Priso, because I don't think that exists anymore. But it might have been in 2008, 9, somewhere. Because there was one right next to where I was working at the time, yes.
What do you remember about that? Like designing the logo?
So I was working at a
tech support?
As a tech support on a call center, yes. So it was like an open, what do you call it? Like an open office landscape where everybody was sitting in front of a computer and a little headset, and which was very annoying because I like sitting with my back to a wall so no one sees what I'm doing. Not a good worker. But they had placed me because my boss knew that I was up to doing other things. I had a plan, but he couldn't stop me from sort of drawing. I had a vague idea of what I wanted the logo to look like, but because of the logo having that sort of 3D effect, the shadow, the easiest way to achieve that, well, the absolute easiest way to achieve it is just to sort of draw something and then you just start drawing lines. But if you want it somewhat correct, you need 2 copies of the logo, or you need the original and a copy. So I made the first one, and then the first sketch of like the actual letters. And then I was like, can you hold on for a second? And then I just put the customer on hold, went and printed a logo, another one. Or no, I made a copy of it, of course. It was like a Xerox machine. I got that one. Okay, I'm back. Cool, I just needed to check something technical. And then I just continued sort of drawing it, but with, you place the other one underneath like that, your paper, and you'll see a vague little shadow of it, and you just fill in the lines. And then you take a thicker pencil and just make it black.
Ghost tech support.
Yeah.
And right now, a logo. You're wearing a logo. What can you say about this logo you're wearing right now?
Oh yeah, this is a Swedish band called Grave from the this is a demo shirt actually. So this is probably from 1989, 1990 maybe. I'm not sure. I know the demo is from 1989, but I don't know if the shirt is from 1989. But it's an original Grave death metal band. Very good.
You also covered a song Bible
Yes.
by Impure.
Yet.
And before that, those guys were in this band. What can you say about Ebba Grön?
Ebba Grön. Yes. This is childhood for me. Ebba Grön was a Swedish answer to The Clash, I think is fair to say. A punk band. Very much so. Not maybe the first band, but they were definitely the biggest punk band in Sweden, and very Clash-like. Not only because they were inspired by them, but they were very musical. They were not dimwits in any. They were not just like punk fake it till you make it. They were good musicians, and Joakim Thåström, the singer, very talented. Very not only a great songwriter, a great lyricist, but he was also like very good looking. He's still very good looking, but he was a hot man. Very special voice as well. Yeah, this is great.
And he later went on to Imperiet.
He went on to form Imperiet. Yes. With they later had a fourth member in Ebba Grön that he went on to form Imperiet with. So. And
how did you get all this knowledge from like working at record stores? You worked at a record store like Get Back? Did you work at Get Back or Benkin's? What record store did you work at?
The first answer is I definitely know of Ebba Grön because of my brother.
Sebastian.
Exactly. So he was 13 years older than I am. I wasn't even born when this came out. This is 1979. I'm born in 1981. But when I was little, they were still around, and definitely Imperiet was that was a band that I have a vivid memory of, and so that was like an ever constant. I don't even remember whenever I heard Ebba Grön for the first time or Imperiet. Knowledge about music probably started with my brother being a music enthusiast, so whatever music he was listening to or whatever music we were talking about, he would always talk about that. Or so I picked up knowledge about this, that, and the other. And I've never worked at Get Back though. Get Back was a record store in Linköping that was a little bit special just because it had both new and old records, which was not necessarily a given in the 90s. That they sold vintage, like old used records, but they had new records as well. Very, very cool. But I never worked there.
I want to ask you a record question. What can you say about Max Fenders?
Max Fenders.
And Tobias.
The
connection.
The connection between Max Fenders and Tobias. I just think it's a funny. One thing that you need to know about not necessarily only Max Fenders, but the whole genre that they belonged to is that's a show on itself. That we could have a complete sit down and I can run through the whole thing. But in Sweden,
thank you for being so devoted.
In Sweden, we have something called dansband, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Dance band. That's a genre of music where bands are kind of like DJs. They are clearly an entertainment group who are booked to play a lot of music for people to dance to. And especially in the countryside, for the last 50, 60 years, it's been like that's how kids are made. That's why we are more Swedes now than we were 50 years ago. Some of them are very good, and some of them are functional. Max Fenders sort of ends up somewhere in between, because I believe when I hear them, I think that they wanted to be like Uriah Heep. You could hear that there's something in their temperament that's like, if we only were like a cool band, but they've sort of, they completely embraced the fact that this is the job, because especially in the 70s, 80s, that's a job. If you were in a dance band, that was a full-on gig. You did 200 shows a year. Just went around, played, and did whatever else bands do. And Max Fender's is also special, not because of their temperament, but also because their lyrics are like beyond ridicule. They're like the most basic. I wouldn't call it stupid, but they are so cheap, and because of that, it becomes funny because you cannot escape the idea that, are they just kidding? and as soon as it becomes kidding, as in like Mentors, it becomes weird. And for me, that's like slapstick humor, and so I love it. And most of their lyrics are funny because
and they look great too, don't they?
They do, yeah. There's this Swedish. There's a book in Swedish called Dansbandsfoton, I believe, and that's like old promotional photos of Swedish dance bands, because in the 70s they got tax credits if the clothes they were wearing on stage had a unreal character. If they had suits, no benefits. But if they were like,
the government gave them money.
Yes. So their get-ups in the 70s are the craziest thing you can ever imagine, like creations. This is a little bit what you see here. They have a little bit of that.
And Tobias, I wanted to ask you about the history of masked rock and roll in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say about the Spotniks from 1963? They're kind of masked, aren't they?
They are, yes. Yeah, I think that they were one of the first bands from Sweden that was actually somewhat successful. I don't know, I don't really have the statistics, but I'm sure you can look it up. But they were fairly internationally successful. Yeah, because they were the Shadows of Sweden, like as in the band Shadows, like a instrumental sort of surfy kind of rock, if you will.
Well, I have a gift for you. The history of masked rock and roll in general. This is from October Fanzine.
Uh-huh.
If you open up right there to beginning, the history of masked rock and roll, Fanzine, for you, Tobias.
Yes.
What do we have right there?
King Diamond.
And also Screaming Lord Sutch, who did Jack the Ripper.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So this is the history of masked rock and roll. There's a whole bunch of stuff like there's the Goblins, the Mummies.
The Mummies.
And if we turn it back here, this is from 1994, but we also have some death metal as well.
Of course. Yeah. Of course, 1994, this was the hot stuff. Profanatica. That's cool.
So this is a magazine for you, a gift for you, Tobias. The history of masked rock and roll from 1994, because you're part of the masked generation, aren't you?
I am. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Wow, it seems like a magazine that was sort of encompassing a lot of everything, the holistic of what I dig in the underground, at least.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. The history of masked rock and roll by Rocktober. Rocktober is like one of the best fanzines ever, still going today. But this is from 1994. The history of masked rock and roll, because as I said, you're part of the masked generation, and I want to ask you what exactly is going on here. Speaking of masked rock and roll.
Well, this is a stand-up, and I would assume that because we're in a record store, this is probably something that was sent here to enthuse people to either love or hate this band called Ghost.
Quite amazing. Isn't it like every band's dream to have a promotional item like this sent away?
Of course. It depends on where it's sent, but
Babu.
Yeah, it's sent to bin.
And there's a logo.
Oh yeah, there it is. You can still see the funny thing about. Remember what I told you about perspective and the shadowing being correct? You could actually see on the logo that I must have moved the paper when I was drawing it, because there is this little shift in angle, like right over there, down there. You could see it if you start measuring that about the logo, but having that smeared all over record stores, especially this size, it's pretty gosh darn cool.
So the thing anything else you want to say about this actual cutout right here, Tobias? The ghost cutout.
No, not really.
I would say there's also ghost eyeshadow. You sell ghost eyeshadow, don't you?
Yeah, they come up with the darndest things.
Who came up with that?
Over the years, I mean, we've had a very continuous relationship with our merchandise company, who are plowing through most of the things, especially anything that's connected. I try to sort of make and condone product that somehow in one way or shape or form will have anything to do with what I would like, which is not always easy, because I'm someone's dad, and I like a lot of old things, and I'm not always in touch with what a 15-year-old likes anymore. But I do use a great deal of makeup myself.
Lin Sure Ping.
Yes.
And what can you say about this band right there from
Linköping. Yes, seance. Or as they would probably say, or people from Linköping, seance would probably be the way to say it. This is a great band. When I was just sort of getting into death metal and stuff, this album came out in 1992. So that's like exactly sort of that time. They were the only band really from Linköping that was going anywhere. There were older bands that had been around for a long time. But
Total Death was one of them?
Total Death was one of them. Some of the guys in the band was from Total Death. So Tony and Micke were from Total Death. Bino maybe too. But and Johan and Jensen were from Or Christ, I believe. But they had all, or some of them had been in a band called Satanic Slaughter in the 80s, who was like the oldest band from Linköping. And but Total Death, like all these guys were like around in the mid to late 80s. But then they sort of got their shit together and formed Seance, and made two really great records. Especially the second one, Salt Rubbed Ice, is even, I would say that is like their opus one.
Also from your hometown, I was curious about Outlast. What can you say about Outlast from your hometown?
Yeah, hardcore band. This is where when I was sort of a teenager starting out playing in bands, I was probably born in the wrong town, because Linköping was not very known for its, as I said, Seance was kind of like the one odd band. If I had been into hardcore music instead, like some of my friends were, I would have had a lot more scene to fall back on. Outlast were among, I guess, a handful of bands in town that was doing quite well. This is like contemporary with bands like Refused and Fireside and Abhinanda, like all of those bands, and Linköping was also like a big hub for that. And
Did Schulten there? The place Schulten?
Yes, Skylten.
Oh yeah, sorry about my pronunciations.
No. It's all good. No one is perfect.
Baboom.
Skylten was definitely that was the ground zero. I think we had two rehearsal spots, and Skylten was one building, and then we had Bullerbyn, which was the other. But that was like what people around the world hear about nowadays, like state funded. You got money to sort of rehearse, and it was amazing. Outlast. This is like 94 or something like that, I'd say.
I was also curious, from your hometown, do you know this comedian at all? Tage Danielsson.
Yes, of course. He is
legendary.
He is legendary. Tage Danielsson.
Rest in peace.
Yes, he died in 1985 out of, he had cancer in a mole, I believe, something like that. He started off as a radio personality, and he got together with Hans Alfredsson, Hasse, and they formed this humor duo, and they made sort of theater shows, TV shows, films, and that was probably his sort of claim to fame that got him sort of known in the ether, in on TV. But he was also like a poet and a writer. He wrote books. He also made films. He made if you're familiar with Astrid Lindgren, who made Pippi Longstockings, she wrote one called Ronja Rövardotter, and the film Ronja Rövardotter, which is has humoristic undertones, but is more like a medieval saga. That's Tage Danielsson who directed it.
And interesting enough, look at the song he has, Punk Rocker.
Oh yeah, punk rocker. Well, the thing here, just to be clear, Tage Danielsson is the interviewer. Hans Alfredsson does this character called Lindemann. So the concept of Lindemann, and this has nothing to do with Till Lindemann, but if you find a record like this, these are sketches, and every number here is him, Hasse, being interviewed by Tage, and he's different Lindemanns. So here, he's the punk rocker Lindemann. So when he starts this, it's like, hey there, punk rocker Lindemann. And the first thing he says, fuck you. Far åt helvete.
From your hometown, Linköping.
Yes. Yeah. Tage Danielsson. Yes, big hero.
And also, I wanted to ask you, taking back to Vancouver, you played this concert. Do you remember playing this concert right here? Muscle Rock.
Yeah. Oh, Thor. Oh, he's from here.
Yes, Thor's from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
I forgot about that, of course. Yeah, I remember that show, yes. It's this festival is a little special because it's in... we're like underneath all these bands. Their whole thing is to call up bands that have probably not been around for the last 30 years. Hello? Oh, you want to come play Muskelrock? What? Okay. And then they come and play, and there's like 2,000 kids there and just like worshiping them because the underground metal scene has always been very, very good at taking care of our elders, let's put it that way, and very embracive and very archaeological. And this is definitely one of those festivals where, you know, a band like Thor could come and be like the superhero that he looks like here. And he would be that in front of all these people. And it's pretty cool. And I remember this day just because he played.
Actually, I was curious regarding Thor. What can you say about Thor? Here is Thor right there. Keep the dogs away. Like you said, you look after your elders, but he's from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So thank you for looking after our legends, our rock legends.
I think that this is the thing with the underground metal. Like a band like Thor, I remember 25 years ago, 30, like in the 90s, a lot of people like myself whom might have started listening to and buying records in the late 80s maybe, but we were definitely sort of plowing through whatever else was in the bin. Myself and a lot of people in my age that were interested found bands like Thor and hundreds of others, and just completely swallowed it. And I mean, I love this. I mean, he had a big hit called "Thunder on the Tundra," which was, you know, a party classic.
And he also blew up hot water bottles until they exploded and bent steel.
He-Man. He looks like He-Man.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a gift for you, an original 1977 Thor record for you, Tobias. That's a gift for you.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Keep the dogs away.
Yes.
Thunder on the Tundra, I think, was the next record after. But this is the earlier, the glam side of Thor from 77.
He looks unreal. That's the thing. Especially, you know, when you're a kid and you grow up with Masters of the Universe and you see someone that looks like that for real.
What do you remember about playing with them as an actual gig when you played with Thor? Or is it all a blur?
It's somewhat of a blur. I mean, what stands out, I remember the place because the venue having this Muskelrock is kind of special because it's like an old wooden, what we call in Sweden, is a folk park. Remember dance bands that I was talking about? Dance bands would play at folk parks, and that would be like a wooden dance hall standing in the middle of nowhere and a little wooden stage, and then they sort of connect electricity to it, and it just starts like an old Tivoli, and a band will play, and that's exactly what Muskelrock is, but they have 20 bands playing. And I remember we played on one stage, and I think Thor was playing on the other. And I just remember sort of looking over and seeing. I didn't get to like go up and be like a front row banger or anything.
And winding up here, Tobias from Ghost, just want to ask you about some Swedish punk. What can you say about these bands right here?
Asta Kask, definitely like among up there with Ebba Grön. To me, especially, like I love Asta Kask. They especially their record called Aldrig en LP was very musical. They're a little bit, as you can see, that they are, where Ebba Grön was probably a little bit older as well. These guys were definitely the generation, even though they're sort of contemporary, but they were definitely the kids that went to Ebba Grön shows and started the band. So this is early 80s.
I love the snow too.
Yeah, this is probably 82 or 83 or something like that. And
85.
Is it from 85? Okay. Yeah. So mid 80s. Yeah, Aldrig en CD, Aldrig en LP is from 86, I believe. Yeah, it's true. Very cool. Actually, the Asta Kask is actually they're even though all their lyrics, as far as I can remember at least, all their lyrics are in Swedish, they've actually toured a little in America, I believe. They're cool. They're a very cool band. I recommend Asta Kask.
And right behind that, there is the Nomads.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Nomads. Stockholm rock band. A very well-established cult classic band in the garage scene. Toured in America a lot in the 80s. I think they did in the 90s too. If you like bands like Helicopters, they're Helicopters was sort of like almost like an extension of, I guess, what Nomads never became. Like they unfortunately they hit the ceiling a little at some point. This record specifically is like so good. I'm 5 years ahead of my time. I love that song.
Cover.
Oh yeah, but it's I definitely learned it from this record. Yeah, I don't know what else is.
And
they're a very, very cool band.
Underneath it, we have Reeperbahn.
Yes. Reeperbahn was a Swedish synth band. What is their sort of claim to fame? They did quite well, but they were also very known for being, they had a song in a Swedish sort of youth culture film that made them sort of stand out a little extra.
And underneath that, we have the Meat Caves. the Meat Caves. Do you know about the Meat Caves?
Yeah, fantastic.
From 85.
Same thing here. Like we're here. We're right up my childhood with my older brother, like buying all these records. I mean, all these records he had in his room. So these are the sort of records that I would come in and like, look at. Köttgrottorna actually has a song that's later. That's probably one of my favorite songs from 1994, maybe, called Älska mig. Look it up. Köttgrottorna. Älska mig.
And underneath that, we have the
Strindbergs. Yeah, another classic. Johan Johansson, that guy. It's also like a Swedish, nowadays I guess he's like sort of almost like a troubadour old rock guy, but he comes from punk originally.
It's amazing you know about every single band here. This is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in music, so yeah, no, I mean, I have all these records. This is the sort of stuff that I have at home.
Are you looking for anything? Like here we are at Neptune Records. Are you looking for anything? Just out of curiosity, are you looking for anything?
When I'm here, just because of the local scene, one of my favorite bands in the death metal
is possibly Blasphemy.
There you go. This is definitely. Well, let's go back to the early '90s. This was one of the nastiest records I've ever heard at a certain point. And they're from Vancouver.
Blasphemy.
There was something, remember back in the early 90s, traditionally metal had been quite uniform, quite homogenous in a way. And the standard, especially amongst the old bands in the 90s, I think that split up because you had new metal and all that stuff. But the classic metal band would have long hair And this band, when I saw this cover, was just like, I would gravitate toward, like a 12-year-old me would be like, shit, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I like this. And then hearing this absolute vile noise of evil that is this record was, it blew my 12-year-old head away.
That's great you were able to hear them. Like the distro was good that you actually saw the record?
Yeah. I mean, this record was at, I think it was a Get Back, or at Sound Delight in Linköping. Yeah.
There's also Crazy Records too?
Did not exist that early. I think that they opened up in 1995, in the fall of 95, I believe. I remember going there just when it opened. But before that, Linköping, even in Linköping, we had like 5 record stores in like 92. Like it was phenomenal. And they had all the, like, death and black metal was sort of well represented, like especially anything that was like a proper record. And even though this was on, of course, this is a later pressing, but it was on Wild Rags. So that was sort of distributed by House of Kicks, I believe, or something like that. And everything that was distributed through House of Kicks was there. So you could find any Eric record or any Nuclear Blast or Roadrunner, of course. So you had everything was there. So you didn't have to do a ton of research to see new records. I mean, speaking of Canadian, I just saw someone with a Gore Guts record. That would be a record that I would see in the store.
So Blasphemy, amazing.
Yes, Blasphemy, I love this band. Witch's Hammer is also from Vancouver, great band. So that would be the stuff that I would be looking for here. You know, Witch's Hammer.
What about this Canadian stuff? I was just curious. Sacrifice and Slaughter.
Absolutely. This is also another, obviously East Coast. They made, I think this record is good too, but Torment in Fire is definitely my favorite Sacrifice record. Very influential to me and in my old band Repugnant. Great band. Very cool band. They were early on as well with, I don't know if you're bringing up their sort of buddy band, Slaughter, but them together with Voivod is, staples in Canadian extreme metal. I know that you have a lot of like heavy metal bands as well with Anvil and Razor and others as well.
How did you hear of Witch's Hammer?
Probably through reading Blasphemy interviews from, in fanzines. So you'd sort of pick up, that's how it worked. You'd sort of, any record like this, you'd buy and you'd read everything, where it was recorded and by whom, and you definitely look at all the pictures. And then you had lyrics. That was something that you fancied.
And the thank yous.
The thank you lists. That was the shit. Because you started reading the thank you lists, and that's how you noticed what to look for. Not only did you find out who they knew, but you would know that anyone who was mentioned on a band you liked, their thank list was probably something that was associated or similar. And for the most part, I think most people in this scene back in the day would say the same thing. You learned from watching the thanks lists and reading fanzines, and then word of mouth, of course. But this scene is to a large degree built up of people who were somewhat solitary in their awe for this music style, and until you find your buddies who like that. And I was very much similar. Like, my brother taught me a lot about rock and punk and metal, but never like anything of the underground death metal and stuff. That was mine. That was me. And so it took me some time before I found my other friends who were interested in that. And then all of a sudden you can start communicating about. But until then, this is how you learned.
Well, thank you so much again, Tobias. I just want to ask you more stuff. Just continuing on here, just lastly with Tobias, you actually covered in Repugnant some Celtic Frost, didn't you?
Yeah,
what is it about covering Celtic Frost?
We did a song not off of this, or if no, this is obviously I had to check the pressing, but the Usurper is only on To Megatherion.
That's on Bonsai, actually.
Yes,
Canadian.
The Canadian, yes. Bonsai for a record collector. Bonsai is a very, very cool label because they released the records that was widely distributed by others. But Bonsai Presses had this little stamp on it, which is cool, speed metal. Some of the record sleeves were actually different from the original ones. First Bathory record, for example, which had the original had a yellow goat and a white logotype. And then the consecutive pressings had white logo, white goat. The Canadian, the solitary one, had a red logo and a white goat. And I think it also has like a little red, can't see that now, but there's a red little line there. So it stands out a little.
Oh, amazing. I do see the red, a tiny bit of red.
Yeah, it's shaved off, but it's there. This is a great record though, Morbid Tales. Celtic Frost, also another favorite band of mine. We covered a song called The Usurper from their first. This is they did 2 EPs. It was Dethroned Emperor and Morbid Tales. Emperor's Return, sorry. Emperor's Return and Morbid Tales. These releases here are just because they were the US. They are sort of combined releases, but the first record they made, the first real full length, was To Megatherion.
And underneath that, we have some punk rock, Crass.
Yes. Here's another. Here we're talking my brother again, Crass. I think that they've probably gone into history more almost for their political activism and because they were such a narco anarchy institution. And musically very cool, but they also all their products are products, but essentially they are products. It was had a very unique. They released all their own records, and they had a very special aesthetic to them. Not only visually how they laid out everything, but also like that the releases came with these like huge folds. Like you see everything, all this is just one big.
You can pull it out if you want. Cool booklets. They have amazing booklets, don't they?
Yes.
The liner notes.
Absolutely, and a lot of information. I know, especially my brother, who was very sort of susceptible to the lifestyle choices and guidance from bands like these. He was very in awe of anything that was sort of up this, which I remember very well because in the mid 80s when he decided to become a vegetarian, he tried to give me vegetarian food. Back then there was no corn, or maybe there was, but there was like the alternatives, like the vegan hamburgers back then. So that was a little bit of a struggle. I remember he was like, "Yeah, but this is a hamburger," and I turned into that kid in Raw. "This is not a hamburger." And yeah, so Crass makes me think of my brother and his when I was little, and all of his punk ideals. And
lastly here, Tobias, I was going to ask you about some Swedish D-beat, Mob 47. What gives you about Mob 47, the D-beat?
The D-beat. I just had an argument with a very good friend of mine where we started arguing, and people in the grindcore and the crust scene and the death metal scene will know what I'm talking about. It's the old debate about how to actually play a D-beat. Mob 47, Mob 47 is definitely a sort of a D-beat band from the early 80s. We call it Sheng Punk. Definitely one of the coolest bands, I must say, from that era. They're still going, actually. They still do shows. But that D-beat is very debated.
How do you play it?
I am a somewhat effective closet drummer. I would play it in the way that a crust punk would say it was wrong. Because I do the musical version of it, where you keep a steady hand Whereas if you're in the bass drum, go but fast. And the punk way of playing it is that you mimic the right hand with the kick, so it becomes. To me, very unmusical because you lose the groove. It's supposed to be like Stay Hungry, but fast. Stay hungry. Big debate. People can fight about this when you're talking about bands like this and Discharge and all that stuff. But that's Discharge made it up. Just because the drummer in Discharge played that one way, that's the whole origin. Everybody in the scene has had this fight. And I had it just a few weeks ago. Again. But Mob 47, really cool band. Very cool single.
And lastly, Tobias, anything else you want to add to the people out there at all?
Not really. I think we plowed through most of it, right? We've talked D-Beat and Hasse Alfredson and yes, Mutta Spricka.
Why should people care about Ghost? Why should people care about Ghost?
Yeah, why should they? I don't know. We're, if you like entertainment the way that I do it in Ghost, it might be something up your alley.
Well, thanks so much, Tobias. Keep on rocking in the free world and do. Yeah.
Yeah. Or only you doing this. All right. Bye. I was trying to sneak out.